Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time, faces. Yeah, it's Voyager. Faces on It's All Been Trucked Before. Hey, want to see our faces? You knew I was going to say this. Want to see our faces? Become a Patreon member. Patreon.com/IAVD. Not only you get to see the video stuff, you get to see our special episodes. You also get the mothership. It's All Been Done Radio Hour. Get all their special stuff. All at a very, very low, affordable price. Even in this day and age of inflation, you can become a Patreon member real easily. Now let's get to those faces. Voyager, It's All Been Trucked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your regular hosts, minus, unfortunately, Shane, are here.
This is Steven.
And I am not Shane.
No, you're not. You're Keith. And Jimmy-Jerome. Shane has become a regular for the Voyager and will continue to be so, but unfortunately today, he wasn't able to be here this morning, so... Anyway, what are your first impressions on the Voyager episode Faces? It's a telling first impression.
I'm still processing it. I actually just watched it this morning, like maybe half an hour before we began earlier. Okay. And it's just, I don't know, I felt distracted, as I often do. So I'm still processing some things. It's just, I guess I liked it felt like it felt a little contrived as a way to kind of give us fan service, for lack of a better word or a better term, to maybe see the actress in both full makeup and without makeup. Either way, it was kind of fun in that sense. Whether or not the science would pan out on something like that, and then I know this is the Vidians are like a super. Or their superpower is genetics, apparently, because it makes sense, the explanation what they're saying, the reason behind that would be, but whether this would be possible or practical,
Yeah, I can't imagine it would be, because then you just you have a kid and the parents divorce, you just split the kids, so the mom keeps all the mom components of the kid and the dad keeps all the tab.
Oh wow!
There's a lot of
it'd be unethical at every level.
Here. On not just the Vidians, but our side too, which we'll get to, that I have issue with. We'll get deeper into that. Yeah, I thought there was some interesting stuff. It's very much an Enemy Within remake to go, once again, going way back to the...
That was my alternate episode, The Enemy Within 2.
Yeah, I mean, essentially it is, and, and almost very similar split too, and it feels like that, speaking of contrived, I mean, I'm talking about The Enemy Within, where it's a transporter accident that splits them in two. But when the reveal happens that there's the purely human part of her, I wrote down record scratch. So at the time I did think it was interesting, but then I was also like, oh, this is The Enemy Within. We've done this. So I'm going to say not uninteresting, but I didn't love it by any means. That's for sure.
I'd say the major difference between this and The Enemy Within is the horror aspect. Voyager does do a number of episodes that are horror-driven. I see that a lot as, and this could be wrong, but Brandon Braga's influence, because he likes the horror-driven. His next-gen film is the closest Star Trek gets to a horror movie. And the sci-fi stuff he did after Voyager and Enterprise did tend to be dark and a little bit horror-ish sci-fi, even though there was all network TV friendly. So I don't know if I'm accurate in pinning this on him, or if somebody else started it and then he just liked the aesthetic and continued it. But yeah, I liked the horror parts. I liked Roxann Dawson and what she was doing in both roles. I thought she had an excellent showcase here. I saw an interview with her where she basically said, I am just getting to know this character. How am I supposed to split her in half? That was such an acting challenge that terrified her. I thought she did it very well. I liked the episode. I didn't love it for some of the same things. It is a bit contrived. It is a bit done before. I know it's all been done before, but it didn't break new ground in such a way. Because Kirk's split was similar. It wasn't evil Kirk and good Kirk, right? They both needed each other, and I think that was very clear in this as well. It's different than most evil twin stories and most split stories, but because Star Trek had already done it, that hurts it a little bit.
And I guess to your point there, the two Kirks begrudgingly accept the other one, whereas here they work together. I guess maybe begrudgingly, but the two Kirks didn't work together. They just were like, yeah, this has to happen. Well, actually, the evil Kirk never did say, we have to work together, or we have to get back together.
Well, but he wasn't fully evil either.
Right.
And you can also kind of chalk that up to, and I know this is stereotypical, but women having higher emotional intelligence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, while we're jumping in, I've got my brain's all over the place right now. I thought as soon as I saw her teeth, her Klingon teeth, I'm like, it cut both ways because I was immediately attracted to her as a Klingon because I think I was thinking the Duras sisters when I saw her teeth, which is it's counterintuitive, but it's like, oh, this triggers a Pavlovian response in me of, oh, these women are attracted. And then Roxann
talks like them too because they can't. I think it's got to be the teeth appliance they put in their mouth.
Yeah.
That she sounds like Larsa Viator as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, she's obviously a very attractive woman. And so her without her Klingon ridges, there's no other way around it. She did look more attractive, I think, at least to me. But again, like I said, it cut both ways. Her being split in two more attractive, twice as attractive to me. And also, while we're on twice as, so when the first half when she was just Klingon, or we just saw the whole Klingon part of her, I wrote down, does this mean she's twice as honorable? And then eventually she mentioned that she could be, it was the honorable thing to do or whatever near the end. So I'm glad we got there because I was like, how can we get through a whole episode of a pure Klingon that doesn't use the word honor or honorable? They got there.
Yeah.
Oh, and the open was like, what, 5 seconds? And I think it plays into your horror thing, Jimmy, because it was a very, she's tied up or whatever. And I immediately, I was like, oh, this feels like the episode where Troy woke up as a Romulan. And the name of that episode, you guys may recall, was Face of the Enemy.
Face of the Enemy. Yeah.
Faces.
So this should have been called Faces of the Enemy then.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. Well, no, wait.
And
we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah,
Faces of the Enemy could be pretty apt.
That's kind of where I was going. I know that's further on down the line, but I'll get into that when we get there. We'll go back to the beginning.
Yeah. So you mentioned the opening. Yep. Very scary, very like, ooh, she's being tortured, whatever. Which is not the way we see her behaving in. Like, she's strapped to the bed, they're not torturing her. Well, they're torturing her because they infected her, but like it almost seemed like she was hanging and being tortured. It was weird. So we get the scene with Tuvok and Neelix in the mess hall, and Tuvok is talking about, this is an indulgence, and we don't need this. I'm perfectly fine with whatever. And he's protesting so much, but if you've noticed, the second Neelix even approaches with the soup, he's already got the spoon ready to dig in. Like, he doesn't have to be convinced to pick up that spoon. And I know it ends up being terrible. And his advice to Neelix is like, if you're making something for somebody, make it the way they like it, is great advice. But still, at the same time, Tuvok smelled it and was ready.
I like that Neelix went ahead and tried it too. And then I like his line, there's no place like home. So Neelix wasn't annoying. He's not my annoying choice for the episode. We'll get to that later.
He is mine, but that's okay. Two senior officers have gone missing, Anders. So let's send 3 more senior officers down to this dangerous unknown situation. Voyager, more than any other Star Trek we've seen, should hold off on sending their senior officers out.
Yes. And I think it's our ensign, our young guy, comes up with the breadcrumb idea.
Yeah.
Kim, yeah. And which I was like, okay, last week we were talking about, whatever, you don't need to track the ship in DS9, the sailing ship. But at least they're like, well, let's try this thing, which makes sense. But on that note, do people still use breadcrumbs? And have you guys ever used breadcrumbs in a situation?
I think it started making me think about, well, it's funny, I actually used that term in the episode we did before this, but was that Hansel and Gretel, I think? Yeah. Where that probably came from. Presumably they
didn't work out so well for them.
Right. Yeah. They keep teaching these sorts of things. But I thought to myself, yes, the idea of a child, to use an edible an edible trail around just thing that literally everything is going to try to eat immediately. So I don't know.
I feel like I might have done it as a kid just to do it, and not necessarily because I was going somewhere where I thought I'd get lost or people wouldn't need to find me. But
just sort of myth busting.
The concept was like, oh, that'd be really cool, man.
But it's definitely one that, like pull up by your bootstraps has lost its original meaning, because now we're like, yeah, of course, Trail of Breadcrumbs is a good idea. It makes sense. And no, if you look at the actual parable, it was a dumb idea. It was ignorant. Not only pull up by the bootstraps, that literally meant it was something that could not be done, because you cannot pull yourself up by your own bootstraps that you're standing in. And yet now they're like, you need to. If you're not pulling yourself up, you're lazy and whatever. And it's like, you don't even understand what you're saying. So we brought the Vidians back, and after the last time of stealing Neelix's lungs, it's like, okay, yeah, these guys are scary. These guys are dangerous. They're good villains. They're gross villains, but they're good villains.
Yeah, their makeup actually makes me, the facial makeup makes me queasy.
Yep.
And that's a compliment. I mean, it makes me just like, and you know, I am really diving into the TOS more than ever lately, but you know, we talk about, is there in Truth No Beauty, where the Medusans were supposed to be so hideous that they, you know, obviously budget reasons, they never showed it, and then they kind of changed what that was. But these guys are scary looking, and there, in truth, there is no beauty. There's no beauty here. But and then you guys kind of alluded to it, when he puts the face of Durst on, that it just goes to another level. And it reminded me of Silence of the Lambs, which was just a few years before this, when Lecter escapes. Spoiler alert for a 34-year-old movie. Escapes, and he's got the skin of one of the victims as he's escaping. So it made me think of that. Just the idea that the doctor was like, we thought this would make you feel better. It's like, are you, of course, which I guess makes you understand that the Vidians, and it makes sense that people from other worlds might not think the same way you do. But
well, we do need to mention, we won't get into the actor's background too much, because we did that last week when he was introduced an episode early, which was great. Then we got to know Durst briefly last week before we got to this one, or last episode. But Brian Markinson is doing such a strong job here, playing both Durst and the Vidian Doctor from the beginning, which makes absolute sense for the makeup of to just have that actor play the Doctor.
Yeah.
But he really did an excellent job.
I wasn't sure if there were, I thought they, because I guess I didn't really see the resemblance strongly enough for me to think that that was necessary. It seemed like they just put anything on him and would just.
I thought they just flipped mid-episode, and it was like, oh, and then when I researching after, I was like, oh, that makes total sense, and he did a great job.
If the makeup's heavy enough that they get away with it, because if the makeup wasn't so heavy, it would be immediately obvious when the episode started, like, why is Brian Markinson playing that character?
Yeah.
But because it's so heavy, they can get away with it, and it worked out.
Okay, well. So he was the same character all along. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll nitpick here on the makeup because I think it's fantastic, but his hands look like a glove. Looking at that, but that again, that's very much a nit.
We meet a Talaxian prisoner. Is this only the second Talaxian we've seen besides Neelix? I think.
Oh yeah.
But I like that we did that. I love that we got another Talaxian, and especially in this context, it's not a Neelix story. It's not related to Neelix. He doesn't interact. We just have a random Talaxian. So much fun. He doesn't have a name, and IMDb is just Talaxian prisoner, but he's played by Rob LaBelle, who is best known for the 2009 movie Watchmen, where he played Wally Weaver, as well as a few episodes of a TV series called First Wave, I've never heard of, from 98 to 2001. One episode of a Motive, and a movie called The Burial Society. He does have 99 credits, including a recent guest spot on High Potential with Caitlin Olsen. And 4 episodes of So Help Me Todd so far. Character actor, plenty of work.
Yep. Looked very familiar.
He was fun. He was a fun prisoner.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Doctor hitting on Torres, both before and after the face thing, was real creepy. And I felt like the way the Vidians have been portrayed, you can have a little bit of sympathy for them. I mean, Janeway did when they stole Neelix's lungs, remember? She let them go. And they've tried to, make them somewhat sympathetic even as they're doing these awful things. But then having him kill Durst and wear Durst's face, that immediately takes away any sympathy at all.
Yep.
Yeah, just to back up with that guy, among other things, the doctor, she asks, who are you? And he's like, I'm Ceylon, chief surgeon of the Vidian Sodality. I'm like, that is not really helping. That doesn't really, I think she was looking for more. But he's like, I'm only going to answer what you asked me. Nothing more. No more detail. He eventually does, but yeah.
Yeah. And Torres, the Klingon Torres, trying to seduce him to get off the slab. I didn't quite buy that as a character choice because Torres is so hot-headed, and we keep being told that's from her Klingon side. I didn't quite buy that her Klingon side could calm down and be logical enough to stomach flirting with him to get free. If it was her human side, I think I would have bought it. But the Klingon side,
that from the, and this is my Klingon, trying to think of the right term, not racism or bias, etc. But I thought it was the idea that her being a Klingon, she could be more base or more base isn't the right
more
word.
in touch with her emotions.
More for lack of that's the only term I can come up with. So she could easily be like, yes, I'll do this. She could bring herself to do it in the sense of, and then I will destroy him and kill him and do the honorable thing or whatever. That made it honorable.
I think she'd be less squeamish about doing things like that than the human would.
Thank you, Keith, for saying what I could not.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
That's true.
Yeah,
I was kind of glad he saw through it though, because I didn't want that to go any further than it did.
I didn't want to see it. That's for sure.
No, no, definitely not. Vidia and Chakotay. Ooh. Yeah. That was rough too. Did not need to see that. The doctor was like, if you think this is oppressive, you should see me remove a bunion. I don't. It just seemed like a fun Bob Picardo line, but it doesn't make sense upon examination.
I always enjoy going back to Enterprise Incident, maybe even before then, but when they do that kind of surgery or changes, cosmetic surgery to make so people can blend in. I always enjoy that. Even when it's this grotesque.
Do you think we had to have the sickbay scene instead of just seeing him on the transporter room in costume and even like have Tuvok hand them a costume, be like, here's your costume, because the makeup's so heavy, there's no other way you'd recognize Chakotay, so they went out of their way to show like the process of him.
Right, yeah, maybe. Or maybe they just wanted to service fans like me who like that stuff. So yeah, that's I'm backing up for one more thing. Yet another space cavern. They're like, we got the set, we're gonna use it. So, but again, I'm glad that the episode wasn't all based there. It was just one of those.
I actually had a different set in mind when they wrote this episode, and they changed it to the caves because they didn't have time and budget to build another set. And so they're like, let's just use what we already have.
Okay. Oh, wow. That makes sense.
So, yeah. Human Torres, man, she's wimpier than I thought she would be. I mean, I guess she doesn't have experience dealing with her fear because she always lets the Klingon side handle it, but oof. I did almost laugh at the line where Paris says, B'Elanna, I'm no doctor. And I'm like, yeah, but you're an emergency nurse, apparently. So,
right.
When the guard takes Torres away, she tells Paris, don't worry, I can use this time to try to access the systems. The guards are standing right there. You're going to tell them your plan. Like, they are, she didn't whisper it. She didn't even try. You told the guards your plan in front of the guards. Dumb. That bothered me a lot. And then they still let her sleep and left her alone. Even after they heard her say, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, and then I think it's the next time they come and get her. Yeah. She's like, where are you taking me? And the guard says, for a shower and a hot meal.
And she says, no, please.
Yeah. And what is that? Is he being mean? And then why is she like, no, I guess maybe she's saying, no, don't take me away. Not necessarily no to the shower and a hot meal, but it is a weird the way
it feels like maybe she thinks shower and a hot meal is just like, we're taking the puppy to the farm upstate.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that also bumped me too. The writing, this was a story by Jonathan Glassner and Kenneth Biller, teleplay by Kenneth Biller. Jonathan Glassner has 15 writing credits. I was looking at his producer credits. He has 15 producer credits. He has 25 acting credits. And I'm looking to see if he's got any other Star Trek, but it doesn't look like it. But he worked with Kenneth Biller on the story, and Kenneth Biller was an executive story editor for Voyager at the time. So they probably writing friends brought him in to consult. Jonathan's best known for writing on Stargate SG-1, The Outer Limits, Covert Affairs, and CSI Miami. Kenneth is best known for producing Smallville, Star Trek Voyager, Genius, and E-Ring. So, yeah, they both have some sci-fi cred. In fact, Kenneth wrote teleplay story by credits. He's got 60 on Voyager. That's got to include his executive story editor credits. And then for Smallville, he wrote five episodes. in seasons 2 and 3. I'm sure if I, well, I mean, all these titles are one-word generic titles, so
Well, yeah. These
they're
last
not
two
going to spark anything for
very
you.
generic.
But he did also write Star Trek: The Experience, The Klingon Encounter, the original Las Vegas exhibit. Kenneth wrote that. I enjoyed that very much. It was fun. So good. B'Elanna carrying herself. Is that a metaphor for something?
Well, since you bring that up, actually, there's back when you're talking about like the Kirk parallels. First of all, I think one of the differences here is going to be that a woman who is essentially a minority within the context of this universe is going to have different kinds of challenges than Kirk would have, being split apart.
Yeah.
So she would need to rely on herself for different kinds of support and strength. It also reminds me of, I started thinking of like a sort of like the neurodivergent masking kinds of metaphors within this as well. I mean, that's probably the closest thing you could think of as far as having that part of yourself that's created for protection and splitting them apart. And more importantly, sort of like the resolution toward the end of them deciding that they needed each other in a certain way. Or when she's talking about having wanted to be normal in a way that you wouldn't expect, say, a minority to express. But at the same, certain features would have been wrapped up within themselves. Just the idea of her saying she didn't feel like herself, which I really liked that. The idea of even if you could have some of those things removed, what would that even feel like?
I was just trying to look up Roxann Dawson to see what her ethnicity is because I wasn't sure if she is a minority in real life or not, and I can't
Well, I mean,
tell.
I think it's more important for the metaphorical aspect of what they do in Star Trek anyway, because at this point in the future, those kinds of things wouldn't matter anyway, supposedly.
Looks like her maiden name was Caballero, and I thought she was Latina. So, but yeah, I see what your point is. She's credited as Roxann Biggs-Dawson, and I'm looking at Wikipedia page, and she was married to Casey Biggs from 1985 to 1987, so well before this, and then had already remarried by the time the show premiered Eric Dawson in 1994, and I know she eventually drops the Biggs. I'm assuming she still has the Biggs here because it was part of what she was professionally known for. But what's really interesting about that is Casey Biggs is an actor who will play a recurring role in Deep Space Nine here, coming up during the Dimming War arc. So I didn't realize they were ex-spouses. I guess it's good they put him on Deep Space Nine and not Voyager. I don't know. I don't know how genial. I don't know how genial their divorce was, but
no divorces are genial.
Very intelligent breakdown of the B'Elanna and Torres.
Thank you.
Mine is much more based. I thought they were going to kiss. I know
that's what Kirk would have done.
Right?
If they made Star Trek today, Kirk would have. If it was Ransom, Ransom would be making out with himself. They just couldn't do it in the '60s.
But and we've talked several times, at least I have, about there's a lot of close talking on here, and Shane blames it on the 4x3 resolution, which is something to that too. But yeah, just the way they were shooting it, I'm like, and that's another reason they were shot it that way, is so they could, obviously have her both of them in the same scene without duplicating Roxann Dawson. But anyway, so that's what I thought was gonna happen. And I feel like mid '90s, and I keep reading the sad about this book about how sexuality broke out in the '90s as a thing we watched and didn't do. But I feel like girls kissing became a big thing then. And I don't know. I think obviously we're in a, I don't know. Oh, are we in a different world? I think we are. Obviously, at least for most of us, I think it's like, yeah, oh, there's two girls kissing. Oh, there's two guys kissing. Yeah, just like everybody else. It's a normal thing. But back then, I think it was, oh man, that's hot. And hey, two beautiful people kissing is hot. I don't care what the thing is. But I feel like the '90s, we were just getting to it. So anyway, I thought they were gonna kiss. I'm fine they didn't, but. And again, I think it plays into all the other things we've talked about, the way they shoot it and the way they had to shoot this. And I think you're right, Jimmy. Kirk would have definitely.
I feel like they did do that with Ransom, didn't they? It feels like I saw something like that in a lower deck.
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
I don't know, but yeah.
I think
the Klingon Torres, when she escapes, has a rodent that she killed and is feeding them. That looked like a huge hunk of pork. how big was this rodent that she had these two giant chunks? I felt like just to avoid grossness, they didn't want to make it rat shaped, but it would have been more realistic if it was just rat shaped, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a space rodent. So
Yeah. Well, there you go.
maybe it's their equivalent of what a rodent would be.
The face just grafted on that. Oh, oh.
Yeah.
The Chakotay comes in, and the Vidians are like, "Who? I don't recognize you." And Chakotay is like, "Oh, well, I just got a new facial graft." And like, "Okay, carry on." And it's like, wait, you're not gonna ask his name? Like, facial graft wasn't an identification. If you could be like, "Yeah, I'm Chuck. I just got a new facial graft." Oh, okay, that might fly, but you know, that was yeah.
I bought that maybe he wouldn't expect to know everyone's name, but would have been used to seeing people on certain rotations or something like that passing through. They might have
He
jumped
says, "I
out.
don't recognize you." He's just gonna take that for granted.
Must have just jumped out him as like, I haven't seen you before. But yeah, I mean, that makes more sense though. If he's even stopping to question him at all, that must mean something, some greater level of familiarity than that. But yeah, just says, I'm Vidian Chakotay. He's like, okay.
Yeah. So when they call for a beam up, they say 3 humans and 1 Klingon to beam up. Do they need to specify? Because they don't normally. It would be one thing if every away mission's like 2 humans, a Talaxian, and a Vulcan to beam up, but no.
Right.
I think the unexpected developments probably warranted some sort of specification, because I mean there probably were other beings around. Actually, I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. What happened to like the other prisoners?
They never even dealt with the other prisoners, and Voyager should have tried to rescue them. But the only other person in the room was a Vidian, and I think you can safely assume we're not beaming up the Vidian, so I don't think you need to specify. The only reason I could maybe sort of see it was to prepare the people in the transport room to expect we have a human and a Klingon. Oh,
yes, definitely.
Like give you half a second to register that before you see it, but at the same time, it felt unnecessary and forced.
Well, no, see, they're bringing up like an extra person than they would have expected. So which ones do you mean?
You
like,
say 4 to beam up instead of 3.
Right, but then who? The Vidian or whoever else might be in the room, or it's like 4 people, or who's the?
Given you're in the Delta Quadrant and you're looking at 5 life signs in the room, and you see 3 humans, 1 Klingon, and a Vidian, and you say 4 to beam up, I think it's pretty safe assumption you don't mean the Vidian.
So many things could have happened, though. I don't know. Maybe that Vidian was responsible for their escape, or helping them get out, or was making a deal to, anyway, expatriate. So forth.
That is a good point about they didn't try to rescue the rest of them. I didn't even think about that till now. It's very Qui-Gon and Phantom Menace. Like, well, we can get you out of here, but your mom's going to have to still be a slave. My hands are tied. You're a Jedi. What can I tell you?
I think they could have very easily done a little bit here to just a couple of lines to be like, we'd really like to rescue everybody, but we're far from home. We're just one ship. The Vidians are advanced. Right. We can't do that. And that would have been acceptable. But
I also, and I think I mentioned this maybe in one of the recent podcasts that dropped, but we get a lot of people in these 90s, well, I guess maybe in the 80s too, but throwing themselves in front of phasers and stuff for people. And it never looks, not that I how could it look authentic? I've never seen anyone jump in front of in real life, but it always feels like everybody stops and waits for the person to jump and then shoots them.
Right. Yeah.
The shot actually happens as the person's jumping rather than they shoot and the person jumps in front of it. But
yeah,
like they could have shot around them somehow. They let them fall and just shoot.
Suggesting to find a different way to stage that in the future. We'll see.
I think it's because we can actually see the laser come out at a speed as opposed to a bullet, which is just instantaneous. I hadn't really thought that through before. Yeah. How would you? I mean, how would phaser fire even look in real life? Could you dodge something like that? Because it should be light, should be just like instantaneous, but you can't really render that. Can you just? I don't know.
And now I'm just directing and blocking.
I can't even. I never thought about that before. That's just how like what is the speed of that?
Right.
If you can see it with your eye, that must mean it's much slower than.
Because I think the way to do it so it doesn't look as cheesy as that is maybe she's close enough to grab him and they fight over the weapon and it discharges. If the the goal is, well, we got to kill her off as far as the story. Then maybe they battle, and in the meantime, they're able to escape because, yeah. And why did he want to kill them? Kill her?
He didn't want to kill her. He wanted to study the Klingon DNA and stuff.
Okay, that's right. That's what it was. That's right.
Because that could help maybe find a cure. Because apparently Klingon DNA, and I think that's something we kind of gloss over in this episode, but Klingon DNA, they now know, can resist the phage because B'Elanna got healed without needing the doctor. So, I don't know.
Which leads me to my final point. So they get back on the ship, Voyager, and the doctor's like, well, we're going to have to reintegrate the Klingon DNA. And she's like, you're going to change me back? And he's like, yeah, if we don't, you'll die. He's like, well, I'm going to get started on the DNA. And I'm like, you know what? To me, you have all this, you can just regenerate Klingon DNA and inject it in there and she's going to survive. With those abilities, you can't find some other way to make this happen that she doesn't have to me, I mean, I know we want her to be half Klingon, half human going forward or whatever, but I was just like, I mean, I like the moment of her being like, when she literally feels her forehead, it's like, I'm okay with not having these on here. And it's going through the thought process. And I don't know that she'll be dealing with it going forward or not, but she does say, well, she saved my life again or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I guess she had to go back to being.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing made me think of the Simpsons joke. So there were at least a couple of examples I can think of where they openly joke about doing something that preserves the continuity for syndication and everything going forward. Yeah. We have to make sure that everything is exactly the same way as it is going to be next week, as it would be. So, they're interchangeable. And there was the episode where Mo had the plastic surgery and he was handsome for a while. Then he just had some sort of accident. And they even point out, shouldn't that just make him look like a third thing instead of just going back to exactly the same way he looked?
Yeah,
and they just kind of cut off there. So
like this does that a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I thought of when he's like, "Well, we're gonna do this thing. We have to give you." I mean, would that necessarily make her look exactly the same mixture?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a very good point too. Lower Decks did that a lot, especially the first season. I felt like where things would infect the whole ship. And everyone's a zombie or whatever, and then at the end, everything would just revert back and be fine. Although there were even people that were sawed in half or whatever would come back together.
Yes.
So you can kind of get away with that more there, I think. But yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's canon, but still. My only other note was my alternate episode was just curious about what other kind of crazy, unnecessary, I guess they're not surgeries, but treatments the Sulan, our good, quote unquote, good doctor. This is the canceled part of our podcast. Woody Allen, when he did the film version of Everything You Want to Know About Sex We're Afraid to Ask, the last segment is a spoof of old horror movies, and it's John Carradine, the great actor, and all these crazy. He's like, well, they called me crazy when I did this, so he's going through all these crazy experiments he's doing, and then eventually a giant breast escapes, and that's kind of the giant monster at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very uneven movie, but that part is very funny at the end. There's a few other ones. If you can go down that road. Anyway, so that's my alternate. It made me think of all those. I'm sure they've tried other stuff like, well, what if we tried this to save us, to get rid of the phage? Yeah. Anyway, that's all. Those are all my notes.
Okay. Yeah, I was just surprised they could restore B'Elanna after the Klingon was killed. I was kind of surprised they killed her. So, yeah. Although the other note that I had was pretty random is Paris is wearing a lieutenant junior grade pip in this episode. Up till now, he's been portrayed as a full lieutenant. So apparently he got a demotion or something, or they just decided as a writing staff, which makes this thing about saying he's a senior officer not quite make sense either because Durst was a full lieutenant. So I know those are kind of nitpicky, like people paying attention to the pips. And I guess Paris maybe is considered a senior officer because he's the pilot and Durst isn't a senior officer. I don't know, but Durst outranked Paris, so it's kind of odd. The whole senior officer thing always seemed to be
a loose definition of who's going to be around the table at the meetings. Essentially, who's, and they're always putting him. He's from the audience point of view, he's one of the main characters, so that makes him a senior officer, sort of de facto.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of funny, but yeah, that is a good hole to point out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is what it is. Let's get to the rankings then. Who are you having a drink with?
Torres, human Torres, or wherever she is.
Human Torres?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go with Roxann, the actress herself, because she had a lot of challenge and did a really cool thing. And yeah.
That is a tough one. Maybe for the sake of balance, I would say Klingon Torres.
Yeah. So we have 3 different answers that are all somewhat the same person. Who was your annoyance?
Sulon, the doctor. Is that his name?
Sulon? Okay. Yeah. Sulon. Yeah, I said earlier it was Neelix.
Oh, yeah.
The doctor. Same.
Sulon? Yeah. See, I didn't think he was annoying. I just thought he was creepy and scary and awful. But...
Those things tend to annoy me, though. No, the Neelix thing I forgot to point out was really, he was comically annoying in the sense of just that those shots of every time Tuvok was going to go in for a sip, he would put his face like right next to him and watch like as closely as possible to make him stop. And that was just, how could you?
That's a
oh my
good
God.
point.
No, I'm deciding that it was still annoying, but just from the audience perspective, it was funny. But in the moment, I would just be livid, I think.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of like that trope in shows where set in restaurants where the food critic shows up and they're all watching him bite and everything. But
they wouldn't put their face like right by his while he's trying to.
Yep.
Oh, of course, that was the 4x3, probably.
Of course.
Yes. Who are you inspired by?
The Chilaxian prisoner, man. That guy's the only survivor, and he's helping these guys. Doesn't have to. And so I hope he gets out at some point. But I don't know.
Probably not. He probably died there.
I'm pretty sure he did.
I went with Roxann for this one as well. Just the way she handled everything.
I was inspired by Tom Paris, considering himself a senior officer, despite his actual ranking. I mean, sometimes it's funny, but it kind of works out that way in my current job as well. There's a certain kind of, I wouldn't even necessarily call it an expectation, but just things have to happen a certain way where you have people having to assume responsibilities that are certainly that go beyond what their actual pay grade is, which is not necessarily a good thing, but things have to work out that way.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, where are we ranking this episode? Let's rank it first against Phage.
Oh, yeah.
Since that's where we were introduced to the Phage. That's when Neelix got his lungs stolen.
That was such a frustrating episode. I mean, in the way that it's supposed to have been frustrating, just like being in Janeway's position of just, you would want to just eradicate these people for doing what they were doing. And but at the same time, there's that sense of compassion of just I think it's very much the same case with this guy having stolen the face of Durst. There, it's just what stops you from just wanting to just blow them all out of the water if you could? But I don't know. No, comparable then. I mean, I would say this is a good comparable. It feels like it thematically, but who knows what's on either side of this as far as quality. I suppose Jim, you might know.
I do. Yeah. I've got it right in front of me.
I was just looking at the Wikipedia conversation about the Phage, and a couple of reviewers found Neelix too irritating to care whether he died or not.
See, that's where I'm definitely going to say this, because in that episode we're supposed to care about Neelix, and this episode we're supposed to care about Torres. Easy decision.
That's true.
I think Janeway's ethical obligations and that stuff in the episode are elevate that, but I think this is more interesting character development or whatever for her. So they also compare the Phage to Spock's brain, which I find interesting.
I could see that comparison.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Wow, somebody Empire magazine ranked the Phage the 44th best episode in Star Trek history.
We're wrong.
I think so too.
Really? Huh.
I don't think so.
Like, you think it should be better or worse?
Well, and then IO9
worse.
was one of the seven. Oh, one of the seven. This isn't that high ranking. One of the 7 must-watch episodes of the first season of Voyager, which is there's only 16 episodes.
Yeah, that's only like half the episodes
That's
of Voyager.
praise, so.
I would say in terms of 44 best of Star Trek, I would be willing to bet there are 44 better episodes of Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah, I agree. I hope so.
Interesting. Again, I don't know. I don't remember. I wouldn't equate my frustration to the quality of the episode. That's strange. I don't know.
I could go either way with this. I'm gonna say Phage. I'm gonna put that above. I'm gonna go below.
That
Phage.
above. I said below, so Keith's gonna have to.
Damn it. I think there are fewer problems with Phage overall, and just the concept that they're introducing would probably put it above.
Okay, so we're going below Phage. I don't feel that strongly. I just
Yeah.
below Phage is Time and Again. That's the Paris murder plot.
Oh, that was I don't
That was not great.
No.
I don't know. There's something about it that I think it was just I think I enjoyed just the fact that it was a murder mystery at all, and some of the effects they were using for it. I don't know, but
I'm gonna say above.
yeah. This is probably above that though.
Yeah, I'll make it unanimous.
Okay, great. If we got above Phage, Caretaker is sitting above Phage right now. By the way,
Wow.
Caretaker's at 8 for the season, so this is 10 for the season out of 13 that we've watched. Next week, we are going back to Deep Space Nine for an episode called Family Business. Quark and Rom return to the Ferengi homeworld because their mother has broken the law by wearing clothes and earning profits.
Jesus.
And I believe I had mentioned to Stephen before that their mother, in this episode, they do recast her for later episodes, but in this episode will be played by Andrea Martin.
Huh.
So
All right, now I'm very excited for that.
we're also going to meet another new reoccurring character besides the mother, who two more reoccurring characters, because we get Brunt, played by Jeffrey Combs. So Jeffrey Combs enters the Deep Space Nine verse, and we get Cassidy Yates, played by Penny Johnson-Gerald. So until then, live long.
In your own skin and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's got the time?